Brady Oliveira, the reigning Canadian Football League's most outstanding player and most outstanding Canadian. What's it been like to have those titles for an entire offseason?
Yeah, obviously it's an incredible honor. The season that I kind of went through last season with the help of my teammates and my coaches, but it's kind of in the past now. I now go through the course of an entire offseason gearing up for training camp, and it's okay. What's next? How can I continue to improve? How can I continue to keep chasing greatness? Right. So the titles, I guess, were good. I just never really. It's honestly in the back of my mind now. It's like okay, what's next? How can we get better? And just keep chasing it.
Let's go to the past for a minute before we go forward. And I think some people are curious, what happened last year in training camp, in the preseason, and early in the season, because you went bonkers at the end of the year to win those two awards. But what was going on behind the scenes?
Yeah, I'm dealing with a very minor hamstring injury that kind of kept me out of training camp. And I always say training camp is probably one of the best things that we can go through as professional athletes. You're able to kind of go through those feelings of the bumps and bruises and build up some resilience within the body before you get into the course of a season, before you get into week one. And I didn't have that. I missed all of training camp. Fortunately, was able to come back for week one and get me in the lineup, but then suffered a very, again, minor MCL sprain in that week one game, and then missed week two. So the start of the season for me didn't go as planned, and I think I didn't have that opportunity to build up that resiliency in my body, right? Missed training camp, went into week one, hurt my knee. I didn't have training camp to build it up. So it took a little bit of time. And then once I got kind of back in there and kind of got the body feeling right and got hit a couple times, I think that's when I work best is under pressure, getting hit, feeling the contact, and that's when I really thrive.
Seems like the majority of the time you're delivering the hits with your bully ball mentality, though.
I would say that for sure. I mean, when I say getting hit, it's I definitely seek it. I'll definitely make sure for most of the time, make the initial contact. I think, that's my style. That's been my style my entire football career, and that's gotten me to where I am today. It's being physical, being one of the most physical players on the football field, having that presence, running north and south, and, making sure you kind of put fear in those defenders' eyes, because it's hard to stop players like that for an entire 4 quarters.
Your recent seasons had me looking in the history books, because in 2023, there was an argument that you could have been the MOP of the league. In 2024, you were the MOP of the league. There's only been one running back in CFL history, Mike Pringle, that's won 2 CFL MOPs in their entire career, and no running back has ever gone back to back. When you hear that, does it make it seem like you can do what's been impossible?
Yeah, goosebumps right now. It's just hearing a guy like Mike Pringle, a guy that is a legend, went down as a legend in the Canadian Football League. And yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that he won 2 CFL MOPs because he was a stud and one of the greatest running backs to play in this league. So we'll see, man. I'm just going to continue to do what I've been doing, preparing extremely well throughout the course of an offseason to give me the opportunity to go out there when the season starts and just do what I do. So it would be something, though. It would be something for sure.
Go down in history. It's the first ever.
Yeah.
You spent the last couple off seasons in Bali. This past one, did you treat your time there any differently with reference to training and what else you were doing on the ground?
Yeah, every single off season, I think after the course of a season, I kind of reflect back on to how the season went. What did I go through? How was the team? And kind of think about ways that I can improve next football season, and especially into an offseason where you think about your previous offseason. What did you do? What can you do better? What can you add? I think you always need to find different elements to continue to strive to be the best you can be and to continue to get 1% better every single day. So there's things that work, and there's maybe things that I need to dial back on. And I think this year was, do I need to be putting 6 plates on my back this offseason? I think I'm at a stage in my career where I don't think that's necessary anymore. So I kind of took a step back from that this offseason. What else can I add? Well, I added hypoxic training to my offseason. So it was we would do 30 minutes on land of breath work, and got to a point where I was doing long breath holds. My first breath hold I did from the first session was 1 minute and 25 seconds. That last session, I got to 3 minutes and 45 seconds of holding my breath on land. So that alone, you can see the amazing results from doing hypoxic training. So after the 30 minutes on land, we would go into the pool for an hour, and now you really get into the hypoxic of it, of putting yourself under pressure, underwater, walking with dumbbells underwater there and back, army walks, ammo swims, everything with a dumbbell attached to you so that it keeps you underwater, keeps you under pressure, and now you're really opening up your lung capacity and really training it. So for me, I always say physically it wasn't hard at all. Mentally, it was one of the hardest things I've ever put myself through. And I like to tell people, that was me bulletproofing my mind. Really, this is what Navy SEALs do. And you think about it, Navy SEALs are some of the most badass people on the planet. You know what I mean? So having the opportunity to do that twice a week while I was out in Bali, I really do believe, mentally, again, bulletproof my mind, but then also just other things, the lung capacity and all that. It was a thing that added to my off season that I think will definitely benefit me going into this upcoming season.
So instead of doing 6 plates a side, you're walking with how many pounds and how far underwater?
Yeah, so I was now walking, I would do 20 kgs in both arm. For example, you'd walk both ends of the pool, and you're probably looking about a total of 40 meters, so 20 meters there, 20 meters back.
That's heavy, man.
Yeah, and I got to a point where I was able to I remember the first session I ever did, when I'm doing the farmer's walk underwater, I got halfway and I came up and I started panicking because you're hitting these walls when you're underwater where you think you need air, you think you need to come up, you think you're going to drown, but your body really has so much more because, again, you think about the breath work you did on land before and how much more you really have in the tank. And I found tranquility and peace underwater where I got to a point where I was able to do laps back and forth underwater, and everything was so slow. I could hear every step I was taking. Everything was so silent. You could hear your heart going. And in that moment, I found myself doing a lot of visualization and self-talk underwater. And a lot of it that popped up for me was my career. This is my job, but this is also like the love of my life. This is what I love doing, is playing football and playing the running back position. So underwater, lots of times I was thinking about, the Grey Cup loss, why did that happen? What can we do to improve so that next year when that happens, it's a different result? The awards that I've been, garnering over the last couple of seasons, why is that happening? How can I continue to get better? How can I continue to chase greatness? And having those in my head is that, this is what I want. And this is who I know who I'm supposed to be in this league and go down as one of the best to play in this league. So it was a beautiful thing, man, being under pressure, but also finding like peace underwater with that pressure and thoughts of having to come up for water, but still kind of chugging along. So it was a thing of beauty.
So you won't get camp lungs, as they call it, right? Like, that's not going to bother you.
I remember my first run back in Winnipeg after coming back from Bali. It was, you think about it, I try to do at the gym I train at specifically, there's an indoor area and an outdoor area. I try to do most of my exercises in the outdoor area because now it adds another element to my training sessions. Obviously, being in the heat, 32, 33 degrees every single day, training in that, it's difficult. You get tired very quickly. Obviously, running out there and then doing the hypoxic training, coming back to Winnipeg. And I remember my first run back in Winnipeg this offseason, I was like, it was night and day. It was just, it was easy. But I think it's because the work that I put in and also the elements that I was training in, a lot different than Winnipeg. Yeah.
So you spent 3 months in Bali. You come back to Winnipeg for a couple of days, and then you were off to Africa. How was that trip?
Yeah, it's been a very busy off season. Just got back from Africa a couple days ago, and I had to fly out here to do this. So it's been a busy off season, but it's been incredible. I love to travel. There's so many amazing opportunities and experiences that come when traveling, and had the great pleasure of going to Kenya with World Vision as one of the CFL ambassadors, and kind of trying to make an impact in villages that we visited. There's a scarcity of water in these villages, which is mind-boggling to me when you think about it. It's 2025 and no one should be out there suffering for clean and safe water. So being able to go out down there with our platforms to raise awareness, to show people the sad reality of what's going on in these villages, the community on average are walking around 6 kilometers a day to fetch water, and that's not even clean water. It's water with diseases, bacteria in there that they have to drink on a day-to-day basis. Use it to cook with, use it to do laundry. Water is essential. Water is a necessity, as we all know. So no one should be going through a scarcity of water. So it was a great eye-opening experience, and I hope now that I can make a further impact down the road and use my platform, my social channels to raise more awareness and hopefully go back to the same village in maybe a couple of years and kind of see the work that's been progressing there.
Good thing you were doing that farmer's carry underwater to carry that water 6 kilometers. Is that one way?
So the longest walk, so the global average is 6 kilometers a day that people have to walk to fetch water. So we did one walk that was 2 kilometers total distance, and then we did a walk that was 6 kilometers total distance. All the guys were asking for more. We said, hey, let's do a little bit more of a challenging walk because we know there's lots out there. The global average is 6 kilometers, so we want to experience that. So it was 3 kilometers there, 3 kilometers back. The jugs that we had to carry were 45 pounds each when you fill it up with water. So you think about that, 90 pounds that you're carrying on the way back. And so that way back is about an hour and a half with breaks that you have to take. And we kind of had to try to figure out a best way to carry it. I kind of wrapped a cloth around my neck, one side, how's the best way? So I figured out it was crossbody, having 2 jugs here, but having to walk, and the defeat that comes into your body and your mind of, wow, this is extremely challenging just to fetch water. But then the women that are walking with us just start singing and dancing to keep pushing you through it to the finish line. So it was a thing of beauty, obviously very eye-opening, a thing that we take for granted, like water. We're able to turn on the tap, walk away from it for a little bit and come back to it, right? Where there's people in the world that it's a scarcity for water. So really put things into perspective, really fortunate and grateful to be, in a Western world where we have all this access. So it was a great trip though, and I hope to continue to do more work out there.
Sounds like it was a great experience. You entered training camp in 2025 without one teammate that's been there for a little while. It's Kenny Lawler. Where were you when you found out the news that he was leaving Winnipeg and going to Hamilton?
I know exactly where I was. I was sitting in the cafe in Bali at Nirvana Life Fitness, the gym that I train at, drinking a coconut. It's exactly where I was. Kenny and I had so many conversations leading up to it. Even before it, I mean, it's a guy that he's kind of settled down now in Winnipeg. He lives in Winnipeg with his family. He's a brother of mine. So it's a guy I already keep in touch with, even when I travel. But I know leading up to it was lots of conversations, almost hopping on a FaceTime call every single day. What's going on? What's the word? What are you thinking? And then I remember when I found out, that's exactly where I was sitting. And I was just like, it's inevitable. You're never going to keep anyone. I just think personally that's a guy you got to try to make work to keep around. It's funny. He posted this thing on Instagram yesterday, some old highlights of back in the day at Cal Berkeley. I never watched Kenny at Cal, but seeing those highlights, it was those same routine catches that he was making in Cal, the insane catches that we see him making in the CFL. That to me, it's like, how did you even make that? It's so routine to him, and he was making those in the Cal Berkeley days. So he's been special since he started this game of football, and I think not many of those guys come around. So when you have him, you got to try and find a way to keep him.
Were you surprised that he left Winnipeg, considering the roots that he had put down there?
I was, yeah. I thought, I think at a point in your career, do you go chase the money, or do you kind of have you settled somewhere where you have good roots and good opportunities post football? And again, everyone's different. Everyone's going to make their own decision when it comes to that. But yeah, I thought maybe he would, find a way to stay in Winnipeg, but I think he maybe just needed, a new outlook on life and perspective of maybe a new team and, new opportunity. And yeah, I'm still kind of maybe a little bit confused about that. I still wish he was with us, obviously, but now I'm going to have to go against him this year.
It's surprising, too, in a year where Winnipeg's hosting the Grey Cup. You would think that you would want to keep those key pieces together. Obviously, there's a salary cap, but it has gone up, and there could have perhaps been the money there to keep them.
Yeah, and that came at such a weird time. I remember, with that salary cap increased and Kenny's still not having a deal signed. I'm like, okay, well, maybe we can allocate those funds to bring him back. And guys like Liam Dobson, there's a handful of guys. Although you can't keep everyone, and I was reflecting on this actually after free agency occurred about the new acquisitions that we brought in to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. We have a lot of great names that we were able to bring in. Stearns, Vaughters. There's lots of good guys that are going to come in there and to help us win football games. And I was reflecting on it, and I was like, we've been to the last 5 Grey Cups, and obviously, yes, we have a great team, we have great coaches, but we have a great organization, an organization that they clearly know what they're doing. Like, even though if it doesn't make sense for us, like, why is Kenny not here with us no more? I think they know what they're doing. We've gone to the last 5 Grey Cups in a row, and I think a large part of that obviously is the guys on the field, but I think it's the front office of the guys that they're bringing in. So you just got to trust them and trust that they're making the right decision. And I do trust them. And I do think that we have the right team to go out there and be extremely competitive. I think that's one thing about the Bombers is with our front office, we're always going to be competitive every single year and go out there and make a run to another Grey Cup appearance.
You had the opportunity sort of to see what the negotiating window was like in 2024 before the season, and you had higher offers, but decided to stay in Winnipeg. So were those part of some of your conversations with Kenny as he was going through that process?
Yeah, I mean, I think Kenny's been through this too. He's been through many free agency windows, and I think he understands there's pros and cons to everything, and is more money really worth it when you're in a good situation here and maybe some opportunities off the field? I think for me, it comes down to, I think, your legacy. I think your legacy when guys are able to stick with one team, I think it speaks volumes of them, speaks volumes of their character, who they are as people. Obviously, it's pro sports and it doesn't always happen like that, but I think that's one part of it. But I think when you're able to stick with one team, I think there's lots of opportunities off the field post when you retire. When you retire, there's lots of opportunities for you in the community. I think, and I just saw Milt here, and that's a guy that still has so many opportunities in Winnipeg. He's always there in the off season, during the course of the season, appearances here, appearances there. A guy that will always have because he played, how many years? He played a number of years in Winnipeg, right? So, but pros and cons to everything, and I think every guy is different.
Would you like to finish your career as a Bomber, one team?
I would love to. Yeah, I think that would be obviously ideal. I just don't know if that would work. I know that I want to play a long time in this career. I think there's so much more for me to accomplish. I think when I look at even last season, I think when I look at my game on the field, there's still like so many areas that I can improve on. So that's exciting to me. And I think that there's still so many more amazing seasons for me to tap into. So how long can I really stay with one team? Will they continue to keep me? I think, and I was thinking of a guy like Andrew. I think Andrew played his best football when he was like early 30s, and I'm only 27, right? So can I continue to do it with Winnipeg? Will they give me the opportunity to continue to do this? I guess only time will tell. Right?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Andrew, of course, being Andrew Harris, who
Yes.
helped tutor you on the way up. Are the Bombers still the standard in the West Division? Like, does the West run through Winnipeg?
Absolutely. I think it does for sure. I think you look at the last number of years, it runs through us, right? We've won the West the last number of years, and I think until someone beats us, it's going to have to run through Winnipeg, right? So, obviously, yeah, it's a very high standard that we hold in Winnipeg. I think the culture that we have in that locker room, just with the guys, I think the leadership that we have, and we have amazing coaches, amazing front office, but it's the guys we have in that locker room that make that culture. That we're not told this is how it's supposed to be. It's just the guys we have in that locker room. This is how we do things here. I think that's what allows us to go out there and be successful. So definitely runs through Winnipeg still.
Do you have another 2,000-yard season in you?
I think I have multiple 2,000-yard seasons in me. That's the goal for me, is to continue to get better, 1% better every day. And how can I get better every single season? we're in a business of results, right? And my product needs to go out there and be the best that it can possibly be. So I remember when I had that MOC season, I remember talking to Jason Hogan, and it was like, dude, we had a great season. We work extremely well together, but how can we get better? What are areas that I can improve on? New drills that you can add to our regiment? Like, what can we do to get better? And we kind of, added some things and had another great season. But then it's like, okay, well, yeah, MOC is great, but we didn't win the Grey Cup. We lost. So there's still areas for us to improve on. How can we get better? So I think I have I really do think I have many 2,000 yard seasons in me. I think the biggest thing, obviously, for any player, but it's your longevity. Can you stay healthy? And I do believe if I stay healthy, if I play 18 games, even 17 games, I think I always get 2,000 yards.
Have you been in Hogan's ear about giving you the ball closer to the goal line instead of Chris Streveler up that touchdown total?
Strevy's been vulturing me, and that's my boy. I got lots of love for him, but damn, he's a vulture. Obviously, being on a team like Winnipeg, we take so much pride in short yardage. Actually, I actually do enjoy the process and that play. Being on the edge, being physical. We need everyone to get into the end zone, so I enjoy it. It would be nice every now and then to maybe get the rock down there and maybe get some touchdowns for the team. But I've had great conversations with Jay. I'm extremely excited and looking forward to his opportunity as offensive coordinator. My opportunity to be his running back in his offense, and just the relationship that we have, the bond we have, how well we work together the last number of years. I think it speaks volumes of who he is as a person, but also as a coach. He has lots of knowledge, even as a young guy. Guys respect him. So I'm really excited about it. I think there'll be, lots of, great opportunities for, not just myself, but I think, other players in this offense to really be used how they should be used, being utilized the right way with what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are. Just because he's very personable with the guys. He really knows every single person on that offense. So I think he'll use everyone in the right way.
Does 2025 feel different because Winnipeg is hosting the Grey Cup?
No, maybe because I've been gone all offseason, not living in Winnipeg. So I haven't been really around the stadium much or the city with the buzz of Grey Cup. Although when I was flying back from Kenya and I was in Edmonton airport for a layover, some people came up to me and they're Bomber fans and started hearing some buzz about, I just got my Grey Cup tickets. I'm super excited. Like, this is the year. Like, you guys better be there. So, of course, there might be some so-called added pressure from fans. Of course, they want to see you in the Grey Cup every year, but when you're hosting it in your backyard, it'd be something special to have Bomber fans there watching their hometown team. So there's definitely some buzz around the city, but we got to treat it like every single year. You want to go to the Grey Cup every year, even if it's in Montreal or if it's in Vancouver, wherever it is, we want to go on it, play in it. So it's in Winnipeg this year. Doesn't change anything. We just want to be in it every single year.
Thanks for the time, man. It's been great catching up.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.